Hi there. How are you, Kim?
I'm great, Rose. How are you, my dear?
Good. Welcome to another episode of Casting Notes from Rose and Kim. It's a really fun week here in Florida. How's it going in Los Angeles?
It's great, living the dream. What more could you want?
That's it. I'm a casting director. Kim's a casting director, and we are just here to give you some tips on how to be, like the behind the scenes of the industry. So, to that end, we have a really cool guest today, Sadie Katz.
She's amazing. Sadie is a very well-known actress and a hardworking actress. I just adore her. We've been friends for a while now. Actually in the top 6 Scream Queens, along with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like she's no schlub, right? But she also writes. She's an incredible writer. She directs. And she's recently started her own production company and kicked off her first feature film with that. So she's just a go-getter and a hustler. So are you there, Sadie? Come on and down.
Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
Hi,
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thanks for being my hype person.
I love the whole thing.
You're so
I
great.
hope you'll do a scream for us. Maybe that's a lot to
Oh
ask.
gosh. You know what's so funny is I don't have like that's kind of old school scream queen. I don't even have like a special scream. I'm
Right.
really authentic, I guess. Whatever comes out of my mouth is the scream you get.
Oh,
So
that's a whole nother level.
that's a whole other thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I always felt bad for Carol Burnett that everybody wanted her to do the Tarzan thing.
I know.
And I'm like, you've heard it 50 million times. Why do you need to hear it again?
I
You know?
know. And here I asked her right off the bat because I love it.
Well, I can cry. I'm a pretty good crier, ridiculously. So
Right.
I feel like
She
that's
is.
that's part of the whole thing is like being able to fall apart quickly. You're doing indie low budge things. And if you're a quote unquote scream queen, you better be able to be legitly terrified if you want to work
Like
with
that.
them. Like, yeah, like they're setting the cameras. We got to go, okay, who's killing me? What's killing me? And, so
That's
you
interesting.
gotta run a little weird, you know what I mean? Like you're a little more sensitive than you should be.
Do you feel that like immediately so horror is your genre? And so do you like the screaming and the crying and these crazy scenes that they put you in horror movies? How do you just get there like physically and mentally like you could do that in a snap? Do you have like I'm not an actor, so I know nothing about this. I just watch you guys and love it. Uh, so tell us how you get there.
I have some tricks that I do. A lot from, I'll be honest, abusing my instrument from indie films. You're doing a film for 10, 15 days, a whole film, and a lot of times you're carrying through. So I say abusing, but I mean abusing my emotions. But I did the Meisner and I did the Eric Moore. So I already learned how to go, 6 inches in. And I have a trick that I say to people all the time is like when that director is talking to me, I am like breathing and I'm listening, like, fucking gripped on. And so if he says you're walking through the forest, I'm going, okay, I'm walking through the forest and I'm already, getting my insides to be there. So I'm really, I'm doing a Meisner trick, really. My life is coming through him or her. And then when I'm with my other actors, which I've got to work off of Kim, who's amazing, I try not to, I try to lock eyes like my life depends on it. And so acting's a little more real than life. So everything is right there. And if you get someone to like lock with you, there's no way, because there's a vulnerability of people go, oh God, I'm seen, and you feel seen.
Mhm.
So when it talks to like, being emotionally available, you're already like, boom, I'm here. So if you even say like, I want to kill you, it's like everyone goes, whoa, just because you're looking at them. So I mean, that's my place. And if I know already my intentions and what I'm supposed to do, and certain things of staying still on camera, which is hard for me in real life, all that stuff comes together of like, I'm stuck in this seat.
Right.
You know, that's my.
And Sadie is so good at, she doesn't just lock eyes with you, she's looking into your soul. And that's such a gift when your acting partner does that. Not many actors understand how to do that. They're so busy doing other things and thinking of all the other things they can be doing instead of being in the moment with their acting partner. And Sadie is so like, she's just brilliant with that, which I absolutely love. And it's those moments that as casting directors we live for, when we see two actors who that you can feel the energy between them. You're like, oh, that's so good. That's such a good moment. I love it. That's what Sadie is so adept at. And I just love it. But I also love that she puts the work in, doing the film she produced, which is amazing. Of course, she's writing, but she took time and went and got private coaching to prepare for a role that was written specifically for her, right? So, but a role that she could probably do in her sleep because she's so good at that genre, but yet she wanted to make sure she could really, really nail it. And so many actors just show up and go, I studied acting in college, I'm good, right? But
No
she
kidding.
continues to study, she continues to work on her craft, and it's just amazing how she does that and just never stops. She's always grinding for her career. And I love it.
I mean, that's the thing we can tell the new actors is the hustle is real. You have to, when you're not doing something, do something else. When and keep up every skill you have. If you learned last year, that doesn't mean this year it's still fresh. You have to keep honing your craft and keep going to class. I always tell actors that. So it's smart. It's smart.
You got to keep your chops up. Long time ago, we had interviewed Brian Cutler, a wonderful acting coach. And like he always says, look, a dancer will still dance every day and stretch and work out, right? A violinist will play their violin every day. A cellist will play their cello every day. A singer will vocalize every day. An actor sits at home and waits for the phone to ring. Right. But that's what sets Sadie apart. That's why she's constantly working, because she constantly works at her craft. So anyway.
Right.
Don't you think, I don't know, like you guys as casting directors, I will say maybe the thing that's the hardest is that, I used to love going in the office. I love that adrenaline. I loved that I got to perform. And the problem is I do know like video auditions kind of steal that from you. So, you can get really good at video auditions. I could tell when I work with certain actors, I'm like, wow, they're great during their video auditions because they're at home, there's no nerves involved, and they're, they got the camera with all the lighting, but I can tell when they haven't actually acted opposite of somebody for real, other than their reader, because they almost seem like they're at square one. And I mean, that's kind of why I made sure I got coaching again to keep me honest. Really, I spent a lot. I went to like the number one person I could, and it ended up being almost $800 for 2 classes. And you know what? Worth it. Even if it was just somebody to say, 2 hours, that was it. Worth it. Because I needed someone to kind of be able to tell me right away, why are you choosing that? Why don't you, it's a lot about, to me, choices. I forget to, sometimes, you get comfortable making the same choices, like, oh, it's so great here. I get real emotional. I'm about to cry. And well, what if you weren't? Like, what if your character never cries because she can't? Then, another layer happens. I don't know.
Yep.
Oh,
I love that. So tell us, Sadie, I know you're a wonderful writer and you've done some directing, but I would really love for you to talk about your new production company, because I'm so proud of you for doing that. And it took so much work, and you're in post-production now. So tell us, what was the catalyst that made you decide why you need to start your own production company and what you're hoping to accomplish with that?
Well, real quickly. So basically, I do a lot of these, indie horror films. They're like my bread and butter. But I did notice, I was talking to my publicist, Jimmy Starr. Well, shout out for him. And we're at a premiere of one. And I thought, these $100,000 films, should be so much better. Like, these are really kind of cool things, because I wouldn't get to star in this many movies that have a whole journey. And I'm like, if you're doing a 250,000, 300,000, 100,000, it's a 10-day shoot. And we're getting more and more of these. This is becoming the norm. I mean, you're looking at Alec Baldwin is doing these films that are, which they come with the problem. You have to know what you're doing. But anyway, so we were there at the premiere and I'm like, gosh, I do all these films for Lionsgate, huge distribution. Why aren't they good? And then, we looked at each other and I said, I've got like scripts sitting here. I said, we're going to do this. And he was very, very, encouraging about it. And then I had a friend who's a DP, Michael Pessa, who I brought a script to. That was the one I thought was going to happen first. It was like a Alfred Hitchcock girl in an elevator kind of thing that goes all different places. And he had said to me, encouraged me and said, well, if you produce this, what if you got to make every single decision? I said, oh, no one's going to give me, money to do that. And he goes, yeah, but what if you just said it? Like, what if that was the deal? So I think, I hate to say this, but having a male in the industry also say to you, like, why don't you deserve that more? It kind of did this light bulb where I was like, wait a minute, I am experienced on this. I can do this. And so then basically, whenever somebody said I need a script or something, I had already kind of decided that I would have a little arsenal of scripts like waiting. And then my one film fell apart. And then in the meantime, I called up my friend Jim Towns, who's a great director, and said, I got this great idea. I don't care if we have to take a goddamn camera and go to the motel. We're going to do this film about a girl who's going to do a self-exorcism, and we'll have some, parallels with mental illness, and let's write it, let's shoot it. And I want it to be a real acting tour de force, So we did that. And then I'm telling you, you build it. And that was like my third hiccup of getting financing, not getting it. And then I got the financing on that. And then oddly, I ended up getting financing for another film on top of it, which I'm going to direct. But I decided when I got the money, I said, okay, I'm going to open up my own production company. And then I just sort of said, like, I want to hire everyone, all crew, all actors, final decision. Like, it's weird when you say something out loud like that. As an actress, you're used to kind of being, polite, but I said, I'm going to hire a director. I'm going to do what I want really good producers to do. And they said, okay. I was like, what did I just do? Like, money comes to my account and I go, now I've got to produce a film. And I also, really wanted final say on the distribution strategy, because I'm really passionate about that. And I think a lot of filmmakers get screwed over in the deal. And my thing was, I've been flipping these films for Lionsgate as a lead actress, and on Court and Sony and all these things. I thought, I could be pretty damn happy if I produce like 2 films a year and flip them, and then you could take a risk. Like, we could be taking risk with this because there's not as much money at stake. And then once that goes well, then I think sometimes, I know I'm spreading out, but my idea was if I didn't have so much money to lose, that I would be able to make some choices that I wanted. I think a lot of times people do production companies and they're like, I have the script for $1 million. And I'm like, why don't you just start here, prove yourself, and then go up? So
what kind of budgets are you talking about, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I mean, right now for this one was $100 grand. The next one will be 150.
Wow. See,
But her production value is amazing.
Oh, amazing.
It's amazing. So good.
No, that's really hopeful for people to hear these kinds of numbers, that you can get good work out of that. If,
Right.
and what is that about? Is that about trimming, like looking at your script and making it economical in terms of locations and things like that so you could spend money on other things? Tell us your tricks.
Um, I mean, thank God I'm lucky that I did have some nice, generous actors who were, happy for work, but I'd always like to pay the actors more, obviously.
Right.
But one of the biggest tricks is like, don't have a script that has over 10 characters. Like, I don't know why you're telling that story unless you got a big budget. Keep single location or limited. We ended up adding locations, but still it was pretty limited locations. A tight, small story. And we spent some good money on our DP, which I think is really important, and on our gaffer. Your lighting, having a phenomenal DP, but I also just having it like a simple story, like especially in horror. I think if you've got a story that's people want single location or mostly single location horror films with a tight, story. Even when you get really big budget, The Quiet Place, The Conjuring, it's a single like
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and you can do it. A lot of people go, how did you do that? That's impossible. You could do it if you prep like a champion, like day one clockwork. That means the only thing that can happen on set is putting out small fires. Like you've got a storyboard, you've got a shot list. I think you shouldn't hire anyone that has any drama at all.
Right.
You'd be surprised. Like, I'm sure you guys know as casting directors that you want everyone to be in it. Like if you're doing indie film, like we're all about the art and we're here for that. And we're going to work hard. And you could get, like, I got Vernon Wells, who's amazing, who's been, an older actor, super talented. He looks amazing on camera. People know him from Mad Max. And he gave us, we still paid him nicely, but not too crazy. And he loved the script, starts with the script. Laureen Landon, who did like Maniac Cop, she played our mother and our possessed mother. So brilliant.
It was a brilliant performance. So good.
She's so crazy, but she loved it. And here was this older woman who doesn't get to do stuff like that. She's gorgeous. And she was excited to get like really dirty. And I mean, her hands
dirty. Yeah, hands dirty.
Yeah, being willing to not be beautiful, which to me is really kind of a fun challenge. And the best kind of acting is when you're not about this. But yeah, I honestly think if you have a killer script, people will want to work on it. They'll go, you know what? I love this. I want to do this.
Well, and I think also a key that a lot of people think about, I talked to another younger filmmaker who wrote a script and he had an idea of who he wanted to attach to it. And it was one of the top 10 highest paid actors. And it was $100,000. I said, like, he hasn't done anything for under 5 million. And so he goes, well, he's done other indie films. I said, but those are his own indie films.
Right. And it's
do you know him? Do you have an in with him? Because if you don't, it's probably not a viable ask, So because he has so many of his own scripts he wants to do that he can do and not pay himself. He's not going to do it for somebody he doesn't know. Right. And so like for Sadie, one of the great things is she's cultivated all these relationships over the years. So people were willing and happy to work on her film with her, even though it wasn't super big budget, but you get these amazing performances and great quality. But then also, even from my casting standpoint, as I'm talking to other actors, I can say, look, here's who's doing this film. Look at her pedigree. And they're like, oh my gosh, I want to work with her. Right. So it just made casting so much easier. And we ended up with a great cast. But one of the roles we had, we put an offer out to the gal, and then she became a little difficult with, I don't know, I'm not available this day, and I can only do this day, and I have to be done by this time. And we're like, you know what, moving on. Right. And then we went to another gal. I'm like, I loved her from the beginning. I want her to re-audition. I think she's got it, but she was close, but it's so hard in self-tapes because we can't give them redirect. Right. So gave her a little redirect and she nailed it. And she was lovely on set.
Yeah.
you
She
know.
was perfect on set. It was
Yeah.
so funny because she said, I couldn't believe you guys didn't cast me right away. And she said it in like such a sincere way, but she passionately wanted it. I mean, the one thing is sometimes it's true when people give me scripts, they're like, will you read my script? What do you think? I'll go, well, and you'll hear their ideas and they're so big. And I'm like, it's the only business where someone values themselves only if they're like, I have the #1 movie and it's got to go to Sundance. And that's so political. And you're taking yourself out of working. Like, why are you doing that? It's
Right.
like if you sold tires to think you have to be the #1 tire salesman in the world in order to be a real tire salesman. It's such a mistake,
That's it. That is exactly it. As long as you are every day doing something, acting, writing, producing, working at all your crafts. I mean, I think that's what intrigues me about you is that you keep at it consistently, and that makes a huge difference. And people out there, nobody has to be famous, nobody has to be a star, because that's the top 0.1% of actors. So very few people are going to get there. So that doesn't need to be your end goal. Your end goal can be to be a working actor throughout your life, and you can have a good living, and you can do all the things, and you can move on to be producer and director and all the things. But I'm also interested in, what did you said you take a movie and flip it. Can you explain to us what that means?
So a lot of times what people don't understand about indie filmmaking is they want to do their film, but you'll have somebody who does a film and they're only seeing what they're doing on set. So like, they're like, I want to direct or I want to act and produce, but they don't understand that that's like, let's say you get 2 to 3 weeks. So you're lucky you get that long to film your movie, but that's like such a small part of the puzzle. It's really the easiest part, honestly, if you're prepared. And what happens is then they get stuck in post-production and a film takes 2-3 years to come out. And when you divide how much work that is over that course of years and the momentum that slows down, you really won't end up making anything on your film. Right. And people also won't want to work with you because they're like, oh yeah, she does films, but like she did a film and it took her 4 years.
It never sees the light of day. Right.
Yeah. And then when it finally does, it's like, that's not a great calling card. I'm talking, an indie film.
Right.
So like flipping a house, it's sort of like an indie film. The idea is, to do a film quick enough that you show that you can create content, make money on that film, which is going to take a while. Knock on wood, you actually make everyone's money back. But by doing that, you've at least showed that you can make content. And let's say you should release your movie within a year. If possible, you should have stuff going on before, because then you can make another film, which is the goal. But flipping films is the best way to actually, I mean, that's my goal with my production company, is to be like, flip films. And then as I flip them for bigger amounts, but the difference is if I say, oh, I have a film finance for 100 grand, that's a lot easier of a number to go out and say, okay, I'm going to get a sales agent, or I'm going to try to sell it and do individual territories and foreign sales or this. If I've got a $500,000 film and my leads aren't really $500,000 leads, they're nice, solid B actors, but they're not that big of a number, I'm in trouble. To come up with, people don't get that. And right now we're in like the wild, wild west of streaming. So the odd thing is your movie on Amazon Prime could be on the same scroll next to like the #1, you've got The Conjuring is here on your scroll. And then the next film is like some film, I was in that was done for $200,000. That's kind of a bad thing and kind of an amazing thing. So if you can figure that out, which I'm still learning, every film, hopefully I will learn more. there's a huge opportunity to make some money there. But if you're not flipping them fast enough, with like quality, I'm just going to say this because I think it's important, is in order to flip a film and it to actually be good, and you're not just churning out bad content, which we have a lot of right now, unfortunately, you have to take time off work. You have to work with people. That's why I say flipping, because it's like flipping houses. If you have a contractor who's got 20 houses, you can hire them for cheap, but then they're busy working on other people. So you have to have a team that is really on board and really working at like an efficient rate.
Yeah, you can't say I'm going to flip a house and have it sitting there for a year to work on it. You need to do it quickly. You need to get it done like in 60 days. Otherwise you're losing money every month. You're losing the momentum. You're losing, so much of what you're putting into it isn't going to really reflect well in a year. Like you need to do it now. Like you can't, you can't play around. And I think same with a film, you can't play around. You've got to buckle down and get it done.
Like you should have a trailer, like a first trailer, not your official trailer, within 30 days after shooting. If your footage isn't organized and you did something wrong, especially if you're doing these indie projects, you don't have that much footage. Honestly, like we're ready to do a pickup day and, we're going to do it next weekend. So the more you do that, the more people around are like, cool. Do you have something to show us? Like we just saw you in Deadline. That's great. Yeah, I'm going to have something mid-March. They're like, oh, wow. But you just wrapped in December. Yep. We're ready to go. And I do think that there is a momentum because it's so fresh and exciting. And it's really tough because there's so many. I'll tell you, in crowdfunding and all this stuff is killing indie films because they're not very good and they're flipping it with no care. So you want to show like that you're doing it on purpose, well, and you're a business. It's a business.
Right. It is a business. It's not called show fun. It's called show business.
I love the filmmaking business. It's so people don't realize they're just kind of in it because it sounds interesting.
Sounds glamorous.
Sounds glamorous. Sounds like something I might be good at.
But it ain't glamorous.
It ain't glamorous. We are here. I mean, you are a salesperson on top of all the other things. You are a rock star salesperson because you're selling, I don't know. I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but you're selling just an hour and a half on a digital thing. It's not even a videotape or a DVD. It's nothing. Streaming. It's just so odd. And and all these weird platforms, and particularly in the horror genre, and I don't mean to call them weird, but there's a lot of different be disgusting. It's like, this is a platform where people go and subscribe and watch horror films. It's fascinating to me. I could talk to you for hours, Sadie. I mean, this kind of stuff is so interesting.
It is interesting. And Sadie's such a love. Sadie and I can chat for hours easily.
Yes, I'm sure of that. My goodness. But so thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope you'll come back again. Everybody like and subscribe to Casting Notes from Rose and Kim. Hit the bell.
Hit that notification bell. Yep.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.